Okay, man, uh, I didn't know failing basic history was was like a person, but apparently it's Quasar. For those who don't know, Quasar is mad that Asmongold doesn't hate Zelensky with a passion of 1,000 suns for some reason. Like he's mad that Asmongold is like a typical American, right? And views that Zelensky's attitude is the problem, not his positions, right? Now, the reason why he uses this, though, this is the dumbest shit ever. He says Russia has always been a United States ally. Now, I don't know about that one, buddy. In fact, historically, Russia has pretty much never been a United States ally, right? The closest we got was World War II, begrudgingly, right? Other than that, they are either like trade allies at best, or complete war enemies at worst, right? There has never been a time in history where we were actually like war allies with Russia, right? That's never been a thing. So like to claim it is very weird, right? We've been trade allies for a bit, right? But like we've been trade allies with China. China's an enemy too, right? Well, like yeah, we'll trade with you, yeah, because you give us money, right? We'll let you give us money. We let the Nazis give us money, right? Like what are we talking about here, right? We literally kicked their asses, and we're like, oh, but like yeah, the only time Russia was ever really an ally was World War II, and outside of that, Russia has never been an ally in the United States history, to the United States at least. I'm sure there's other European countries which have been allied with Russia at points. We're not fucking European. We're white. We're European in that we have white ancestry. Sure, a lot of us, right? But what does that have to do with anything? Right? Like you're talking about the leadership at that point, not the actual like people, right? Our culture is so fucking like different from any fucking place in Europe. It doesn't fucking matter, right? Not only that, but like even like hell, if that was the case, this fucking conversation between Zelensky and Putin and Trump would kind of solidify that anyway, because Zelensky doesn't like Russia and Trump doesn't like Russia, and Zelensky doesn't like Trump and Putin doesn't like Trump, and you know Trump doesn't like Zelensky and Trump doesn't like Putin. It turns out you know that pretty much everyone involved in this conversation doesn't like the other, right? Obviously Putin is a bit more hands off in this conversation, but he is very much a part of it, right? Like what the conversation is about effectively, right?
The situation is, well, let's just say, as was good, like being a lot emotional and not really rational. Yeah, exactly. He's being extremely emotional mostly about these things, but like, I think that's because he just kind of fed what's going on in the space. He got in political space, now he's refusing to debate Hassan. Hassan, idiot Piper. I mean, that should be an easy win.
You don't debate to have easy wins. You debate. Okay, if I debate an easy win, that just makes me look like a retard. You can't debate anyone intelligent. Like debating Hassan, like is stupid because Hassan is a fucking asshole, right? Like he's a dumbass and an asshole. So you're not gonna win really with him. You'll win in the public eye, but you'll not get any actual dub, right? You know, like any meaningful dub, right? There's nothing meaningful about debating Hassan that could ever come from a conversation because Hassan doesn't debate either. Like, Like, that's like a debate with Sneeko. It doesn't fucking do anything productive. Like, you're having a debate with a pedophile on his right to have sex with a 12-year-old. Like, you can win or lose. You wasted your fucking time. Yeah. You know, like, I'll never debate Sneeko. Like, the only thing I'll do is, like, if he ever comes on trying to be like debate, I'll be like, hey, why do you want to fuck kids? And do not sugarcoat it. You want to fuck kids. Everyone knows this. Tell me, why do you want to fuck kids? And I will never relent on that. He will not be allowed to ask any other questions. He will have to answer that one. And he will have to answer it truthfully. As in, he can't say he doesn't. He has to answer the question as it is asked, because it's already demonstrable, right? And that will be my entire debate with Sneeko, if I have any. Right, will just be insulting him and calling him a pedophile by questioning his sexual interest with children, right? And nothing else. That's not a debate, though. That's just me insulting him for like several minutes to hours until he finally fucking caves or leaves, right? That's effectively what a debate with Hassan would be. Like, if I wanted to do that, I would have done it already, right? Obviously it would be about something else besides that, but basically what I'm saying is nothing productive would really happen from that conversation, so why have it, right? There's a famous quote in the Bible that's basically like that. You know, like, you have there's a thing about, like, freedom of speech it also includes freedom to avoid speech, right? Like, if I see a street preacher, freedom of speech allows them to do their street preaching, but it also allows me to walk the fuck away, right? If I'm forced to listen to a street preacher, it's no longer freedom of speech, okay? But I can walk away, so it is freedom of speech, right? Because I have the right to speak with my body and leave the conversation. Yeah, no, that's my free speech, you know? So, yeah, Hassan isn't going to be productive in any conversation, so why have it? You know, like, you're talking about easy dubs, but that's not the point of debating. The point of debating is to change people's minds, right? If everyone already agrees that Hassan is a retard in like, your audience, and none of Hassan's audience are going to listen, other than the people who already think he's a retard and just hate watch him too, then you're not doing anyone any favors at all, right? Everyone who knows of Hassan has already made up their mind, and people who don't will make up their mind, you know, a little quicker without that, right? And because of how prominent both of them are on political streaming, like, you don't need to have that particular conversation because they both already know each other and their points. Right? No? Not really. I mean, I guess you could argue that, but like, the war didn't really start in 2021. It started in 2014. Like that, it's actually pretty objective. Now, Trump did help put a pause on the war, but the war objectively started in 2014, right? When someone invades your land, that is a war, right? When someone is not legally allowed to occupy your land, puts military effort into occupying it, that's going to war with you. That's declaring war, right? Like people say, but like you think that the whole like thing with the Confederacy was retarded. Yeah. And the reason for that is that the Confederacy seceded, so they were an enemy nation, right? So us declaring war on them immediately was not disregarding their states' rights. It was enforcing it. Because now we're like, okay, you declared yourself an enemy nation. We're not leaving, and we're going to kick your ass now. Right? We let them LARP that they were an enemy nation successfully. They hate that because they lost, right? They were always going to. I don't know like how to describe this to Confederates, but like your economy was shit. It was shit because slave labor is a shitty system that is not even economically viable at all, right? So yes, your economy died. You tried to force us to abide by your shitty economic standards. You disavowed other states' rights by trying to capture slaves from our states, and then you got pissy, seceded, and then got pissy again when you lost. Yes, that's how things happen, right? If you secede when you have a shitty economic foundation and the other guys have one of the best economies ever at the time, you're going to lose, right? The reason why America won the Revolutionary War was because despite having all of the like troop disadvantages, we had an economic advantage, right? Like the America's fucking land is based, right? Like there is so much economic like gold effectively, like legitimately as well as effectively in the United States, especially back in the 1700s. So while yes, Great Britain had the superior military, we had the superior fucking economy. We had the superior land. We had the superior like tactics and stuff, right? And like so, yeah, the superior army did win that fight. It was just the superior army like is a bit different in that scenario than what you would think. Like the soldiers, obviously Britain had the advantage of, but when it came to every other advantage, America had it, baby. You know. But anyway, America had the same advantages though against the Confederates, right? Yeah, like we're the United States, you're the Confederate States. We kicked your asses because you had no fucking advantages, right? Like you had zero. That's why you lost, right? Because your army sucked because you were poor, and you were poor because you relied on slave labor for it, right? So like maybe if you want to fight for something, maybe not the thing that kills your own fucking military advantages that you would need in a war, to fucking begin with. Like honestly, if that happened today, what the response would be like troll facing on all of their fucking phones and shit, and like laughing at them 24/7, and then still like occupying them militarily to make sure they don't do some dumb shit. And that would be like what would happen if like that something like the Confederacy happened today, right? Like, we just fucking meme on that shit because of how fucking dumb it is, right? You got like a very shitty, very extremely poor economic front. You've got no real soldiers or firepower. And you're leaving the country, declaring yourself an enemy to the United States. And you're expecting us to be bothered by it. I'm gonna fucking dunk on you and call you a fucking retard. You know, that's my opinion on this, like the whole Civil War debate. The Confederates lost because they were retarded. But like that's the thing, like that Trump is trying to explain to Zelensky. Like you got no real advantages here, buddy. You should actually like try to get some before you before you like threaten shit. You know.
Yeah, exactly. Like, get the Russians to just get their troops out and voila, war ends. It's that simple.
See, this is what I thought was happening. It's like there's apparently some breakdown in communication where like things that are happening, oh wow, privately are clearly not what's happening publicly. That's what's going on.
Yeah.
He was saying different things in meetings versus to the public. Yeah, no, I saw that. Because like that's the only way that I could explain it. Because like to see JD and Trump pop off like that out of nowhere, I was like, there's got to be a reason for this, right? I mean, they really just randomly get mad like that. Like I don't know, maybe, right? Maybe, but still, I try to look for another reason at least, right? Because it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, Asmongold with his inner sources that I guess I find reading. I don't know. This seems like a lot of pure raw emotion and not a lot of thinking or logic applied from Asmongold. It's actually quite disappointing. Like, that take knows absolutely nothing. It just keeps explaining how it feels. Exactly.
What? Yeah, we're talking about a war. Explaining how it feels is important. Like, I hate this whole like we got to be logical, never emotional bullshit. When we're talking about like people's lives and their livelihoods, people are going to be emotional in that conversation, right? Like you can't say, "Oh, we got to be all logical," and then the conversation is about like, like people's responses to the economic crisis. People are going to be emotional. They're fucking poor and can't afford shit, right? Like most people who voted for Trump had not. There is nothing to do with wokeness, nothing to do with anything, right? The reason the vast majority of people who voted for Trump was because they were broke and they needed hopium and they thought Trump would fix it because the other guy wasn't, right? Like, am I that out of the blue, right? It was a very emotion-driven response to the fact that they couldn't afford anything. It might have still been the correct response. I don't actually think Kamala would have been a better president. But, like, that's what I'm getting at, right? Like, that's why most people voted for Trump. There's plenty of people who voted for other reasons. But the vast majority of Trump voters voted because they can't afford shit and they want to do that again. Maybe like people like Destiny tried mocking them because like his plan didn't seem to fit to him, right? And it probably won't. I don't know. I think it will. I hope it will. But like that's really the debate we're having, right? Whether or not like Trump is gonna be good for the economy. That's what most people are wanting to know. Because that's what most people are caring about. They can't afford shit. It turns out if you're talking about can I afford groceries next month, like you're making more money than you did 10 years ago, but you are not able to afford half the shit you used to afford. That starts some conversations. You haven't moved out of anywhere. You're making 10 times the dough, so why can't you afford as much shit anymore, right? That's what people are starting to think in their noggins, right? Like it's more struggling despite more money, And so people are tired of that and they want some answers effectively, right? So yeah, they're emotional. They're gonna be emotional, right? Like we're talking about a very emotional topic, right? The idea of emotions aren't have no place in debate is retarded. All moral debates, right? Every single debate on morality is an emotional debate, right? There is no logic to a morality debate. And the reason for that is because morals are a value based debate, and so everything is going to be subject to emotion because values are effectively just another synonym for emotion, right? It's the same with like capitalism, really. When you want someone to buy something, you give them an emotional argument, not a logical one, right? You can give them a logical one, but ultimately you have to supply an emotional argument as to why that product of your like why your butt plug deluxe is better than their dildo 9000, right? You need to show them in some way why they would prefer the butt plug deluxe over the dildo 9000, right? If you can't do that, show them the emotional reasons why they should pay for your thing instead of the thing they already have. Then they will just buy the thing they already have because they like the dildo 9000, and the butt plug deluxe just seems like a little too far-fetched of an idea, right? That's how most people are going to react. Obviously, a little bit less silly items, but ultimately, it's effectively the same fucking conversation. So yeah, like this whole bullshit of people like want specific. No, people want to afford groceries. That's what people fucking want. Shut the fuck up if you think otherwise. It's false. People want to afford groceries. Okay? People don't want anything more. um, like it's kind of fun when it comes down to like millionaires, but this guy's not even a fucking millionaire. This guy's poor too, right? So like, you're poor, and you're mad that he's kind of rich, but he still talks to enough poor people to get what they actually think, right? Like, that's one thing, right? When people call Asmongold a normie, what they really mean is that he'll actually fucking talk to normal people, right? Because normie really just means, like, someone who's the average Joe, right? You go outside, you talk to someone, that's a normie, right? Right? Like, the average response is going to be the normie response, right? Asmongold isn't a normie, but he is in touch with normies because he talks to them. Same with Trump. Trump is in touch with normies, right? He's exactly the same as Asmongold in that regard. One of the other reasons Trump got elected is that he would fucking talk to average citizens. He doesn't just shut his doors to specific people. He talks to average Joes, right? Not all the time, obviously, but he does. That's why he has like these specific presences he does, right? What's funny is a lot of Bernie bros voted for him, and you can tell why, right? Bernie speaks to people, Trump speaks to people. He has a different message, but they both speak to common poor people, right? The average Joe in America has spoken to Trump, and they've spoken to Bernie Sanders, right? You know who they've never spoken to? Kamala Harris. Biden, right? Obama, although at least Obama like had like some cool messages, right? That's why he won, right? But like Clinton never fucking like Clinton's like, you know what Clinton reminds me of? I actually gotta show you this. Like this is like Has Been Hotel episode, a pilot, right? So we're gonna watch the Has Been Hotel pilot, right? Like, this is gonna be important because, like, this bitch, like, with the Karen haircut, you'll see, is the spitting, like, personality of Hillary Clinton, right? Or let's see, like, so like that, just that one line, right? So like if you replace gays with pores, and that's Hillary Clinton, right? So like that should just kind of like it's kind of like put like a little bit of why people don't like certain people and will not vote for them, despite what things on Twitter seem. Most people don't vote for people like that because they're cunts to them, right? Like if you treat someone like a lesser human being, um, before you even know a fucking thing about them, it's bad, right? Now, like it's one thing like if you know a lot, like that's called pattern recognition, right? If you know enough about the person before ever talking to them, as in like you have friends, you know, that who like hung out with them and stuff. That's one thing, right? But if you legitimately just met someone and you treat them like that, you're a fucking scumbag and you deserve to lose any election. Right? So like yeah, Hillary and Kamala kind of did that strategy and they fucking lost. Like Biden didn't really do that strategy. Like Biden about that's the one thing. All the winners were at least willing to talk to fucking average citizens. Now, Biden and Obama mainly talked to left wing and Bush mainly right wing, whereas Trump kind of like spoke to both. But yeah, uh, if you speak to an average person, people are more willing to hear it. It turns out.
Feelings are the logical people. I want to be logical people, not just like, oh, I'm going to say, I don't feel good about this. But your feelings don't matter, sunshine.
I mean, they do in this case. What are you talking about? It's a fucking war. I hate to break it to you, except I don't. But we're talking about an emotional conversation. This debate is by definition an emotional one. It is not going to be won by logic, right? Facts and logic aren't all the be all end all of human conversation. They never were and never will be. Like if you're talking about science or math or statistics, sure. We're talking about people's lives. Hell no. There's a difference, right? There's times and places for everything, right? Well, yeah, because he's trying to figure out like he's trying to think about what's being said, and then come up with his actual response and reaction. Yeah, he doesn't want to like be a dumbass retard with his reaction either.
To be fair, Zelensky saying that Putin is a murderer and a war criminal, it does put the United States in a bad position. And
Well, at least Asmongold understands that Russia is America's ally and always has been. That mainstream lies don't connect down to this. I guess
What? At least he understands an objectively false statement. Like, no, he's talking about like how he's talking about how it drives the conversation in a bad way, and it makes it so it feels like either you're going to drive the entire conversation which we will not let you do anymore. Because we actually do give a little bit of a fuck about you, Zelensky. Or you could argue it just, it just sets off like some alarms in people's heads. The idea that we were always Russia was like, where is the fuck is Russia our ally besides World War II? I want to know. Like, is there like some secret like war in the 1800s where like Russia like farted on a Russian farted on a Confederate soldier or a British person, and like that was considered allyship at that time? Like. That is okay. That is unhinged. That is perhaps the one thing Asmongold doesn't do is properly groom himself. What the fuck? Like, I can understand like calling him a little bit of a gay, but like this is like you gotta have some fun. Like this is like he's talking about the guy whose main criticism from his biggest haters is that his house looks like it should be on an episode of Hoarders and not an actual place where someone lives. Even though, like, obviously that is how, like, the houses are. But, like, that's the funny part about that, So, yes, Asmongold lives in a hoarder house, and that's bad. But that, what you just said, is weird because it's like the exact opposite of anyone's ever opinion of Asmongold, right? I know why it happens too. Like back in the day, he wore a dress one time or something, and apparently because he wore a dress one time years ago, we apparently gotta like act like that's like all he is or something, which I find hilarious. It's a bathrobe? Yeah, he doesn't feel the need to get his own bathrobe. Also, his mom died. So, like, maybe it's like, he's got to clean his house. He had to throw a lot of shit away. Maybe that's just like, yeah, it's something to remember her by still. Like, his mom fucking died. You know that, right? Like we're talking about emotions. He's not even being that emotional. He's just getting into the emotion. Like, he's trying to figure out the emotions of the conversation. Which it is going to be an emotionally driven conversation. It's a fucking war. One of the guys is asking for, like, basically begging for help, but, like, it's too retarded to realize that he has to actually listen. And the other guys are telling him he needs to fucking listen so they can actually help him properly. So that's the conversation that happened between Putin and, between Trump and Zelensky, right? In Trump, Vance, and Zelensky, right? So like they had a conversation, and it was a pretty, I'd say like ineffective one, but like I feel like it was an eye opener that Zelensky literally like is fucking like way too fucking in on his head, which I feel like kind of was obvious before anyway, so there's not really anything new there. So what? Like, what the fuck? Like, who cares?
That's how you get saying these things.
I'm pretty sure he gets saying those things because he's Asmongold and he thinks it's entertaining.
Away from getting that negotiation
and he's or like correct or whatever, right? Like, yeah, like he pays attention to people. Yes.
He's an absolute weirdo sometimes. Yeah, he definitely is. And not in a good way, weirdo. Like, he's fucking weird and lame sometimes with the stuff he says. I guess
That's everyone. Like, I love how like everyone's like, Asmongold is a normal human being. He does weird shit that other people don't, and sometimes it's base. A lot of times it's cringe. Yes, that's called being a fucking human being. Like maybe this guy, like I know he's talking about like how he's Russian. Maybe he's like that one Russian that like is literally the hive mind, right? Like you know, like how like China has their hive mind because you know, like that's how like that's why everyone looks exactly the fucking same. Actually, he looks like a stereotypical Russian, right? Like he doesn't look like a Russian who thinks for himself. I'm starting to put some pieces together. This guy is literally brainwashed, right? And you can tell by looking at him because he looks like what you think a Russian would look like, which is not how a person should look like. You know? If China, right? The thinking people don't look the same. Every normal citizen looks exactly one way. And the same thing with Russia, right? If you are not actually trying to avoid like skirt shit with the Russian government, you have a very specific like stereotypical look for men and women in Russia. And like those are the people who are brainwashed and will just believe whatever like their government tells them. Like shit, like the United States was always an ally with Russia. That's like the easiest fucking statement to debunk. Easiest.
is he just is toxic.
We were regretful allies in World War II, and really Russia allied with us after declaring themselves as an enemy with us, right? Because Russia didn't become an ally to the United States in that conflict until after Stalingrad.
Both of these things, I'm pretty sure are true. That's how I see it.
Oh,
That's
Jesus.
where I'm at. Maybe I'm crazy.
It went off the rails when he said, "Let me ask you."
Like really, actually, the funny thing is, United States didn't really participate in World War II. Really, we only were allies with Russia because we wanted to make sure they didn't get the nukes first. That's actually legitimately why we quote allied with Russia in World War II. Because we were just gonna let Europe solve itself until like this shit with Stalingrad happened, and we had felt like we had to do something because the commies weren't gonna kill each other. They were, but then they were gonna kill us, right? Whichever one won. So we realized that, so that's why we did what we did, right? And then we set the nukes off in Japan, despite pretty much already winning the war there, to spark fear in Russia to start the Cold War. That's actually how the Cold War really started. We nuked Japan specifically to get them off our fucking dicks. Because we knew if we let them off first, Russia would be like, oh shit, this guy's crazy. They're launching the nukes already. We haven't even perfected our formula. And that's why we did it, right? We just dropped one, and then like immediately they were like, oh, we didn't surrender for 5 minutes. That's our cover. But in reality, like we did it to fucking obliterate Russia's morale during the Cold War, and we won because of that. Like we won the Cold War by nuking Japan effectively, right?
To the vice president, what kind of diplomacy are you talking about?
Like people talk about how these blue balls and no one died. A lot of people died. You just don't really know how it actually started, you know?
Serious thing. I mean, thousands of people have been.
That's the other thing, like how like we always say like we won the space race, even though all we did first was land a man on the moon, right? The reason why we say that is because our flag's the one that's on there, right? Russia ain't got no flag on the moon. We do, because we were there first. That's our property. That's also another thing. The moon is American soil. We own the moon. We we don't declare it, but we own the moon. We could actually, that's the thing, right? We're talking about 51st state, and we're talking about like a space society. Trump, you literally could just declare America owns the moon. Why not? Like, we do. We just haven't, it seems with like Japan. Japan, we own Japan. We just say we don't because we like want this like treaty bullshit to go through. And like, if we just say we own Japan, it could actually put them in harm's jeopardy from like enemy nations in their vicinity, right? That's why we don't officially do it, right? Like, on paper, we own Japan, but we have to officially say we don't. Specifically in order to prevent wars from happening there that we don't want to fucking deal with, right? Because Japan, much like Hawaii, right, is an island nation off the coast of everywhere, but it's close. But Hawaii is closer to the United States, so we have like that leverage, and we have like it's just easier to defend. The other thing is Hawaii just has less resources people would want. Like, outside of really good poke, and they get that in Japan too. Like, there's no real economic advantage to declaring war on Hawaii, but there's very much economic advantage to declaring war in Japan, you know? So that's why, like, we don't really officially claim it there. But the moon, like, what do we have? Like, we put weapons in space, and then we say we own the moon. Now, you'd have to come up and get him. But we're already there. That's how you gonna do it. Yeah, like now, you try to come up, we can bomb your rockets down, right? And we'll colonize the shit out of that fucking moon. And there'll be people on the moon. There'll be aliens on the moon. But they'll actually be United States citizens. It's crazy, but it can happen. So, like, we'll own, like, a natural satellite, right? So, like, which is basically like a small planet anyway. So we'll own a satellite planet while y'all like talk about all this shit, because we really do. We do own it. We are the only people in the world to own a satellite planet officially, right? As in we are the first people to have landed on it, and we get to decide who goes there. What? He's trying to think of like he's trying to observe what's being said and then wait, like he's not cutting him off. Yes. Let. Okay, now he cut him off. Okay, never mind. What are you fucking talking about? Yeah, Russia did Russian things. How do you know? Because they're Russian. That should just be able to like. That should just be the response there. Because they're Russian. Like, this dude is so like. I thought like he was just like retarded a couple times. He seems to be like terminally retarded. God damn.
Like, I mean, because that's the main concern. Like, because he's not even addressing, like, why did Zelensky say that? Like, yes, Zelensky said that, but why did he say that?
Like, this dude is so fucking dumb. I fear dogs and cats being around him. Because I feel like he's sub-Haitian IQ, right? Like this Qwazar dude, right? And sub-Haitian IQ, right, is the IQ of someone who eats a cat and a dog, you know?
Address the reason why.
Yeah, that just sounds like he wants to make America look bad. Because this is a point that can only make America look bad and weak in the face of the world. And he's like, please address this. Make America look stupid. Make everyone in America look like a clown for supporting this. This is not what you should be doing. This is insane.
What? Acknowledging that someone, should have asked for help better so that people wouldn't. Because Americans usually actually do like to. Oh, god damn. I'm suffering fucking brain damage from listening to Qwazar speak right now. What the fuck? How do I get fucking brain damage? You know, like I'm fucking dumb as shit, and somehow I'm feeling brain damage from his shitty fucking opinions.
Asmon has been saying a lot of things that make him just look vitriolic and hateful towards the American people recently. Absolutely 100% true. When he said, especially when he said that he wants to see other people suffer, the guy's a millionaire. What is a what is some woke commando who paints his nails and goes to campaign at Starbucks going to affect his life? Nothing. But should he suffer? Yeah. Asmongold wishes that these people should all suffer for the magical thing that they have done. That is just psychotic behavior, honestly.
What? I mean, if you're talking about are you talking about the Palestine shit? Like that's actually what got him canceled. He doesn't say it that regard. Yeah, he doesn't say it that retardedly anymore. Yeah. He got canceled for that, and it actually, I'm be honest, that's the only thing I think that he should have been canceled for. That is the only one. It's also the only one he faced consequences for, though. So when you think about it, he went too far that he couldn't just avoid consequences by ignoring, the drama, because it actually was wrong that one time. People are simping in the comments don't realize it. What he basically said when that happened was he doesn't give a fuck about anyone's lives or livelihoods. He does not care and cannot care because he just doesn't have the ability to, right? Because he views they're just inferior to the United States, and therefore that's all the reason he needs to not give a fuck about anyone in the entire country. Now, that's a little fucking unhinged to say, right? So he got punished for that. Hell yeah, he should. You should do that with, Hassan should too, right? Because Hassan does the same thing, but for Israel, right? I feel like anyone who says it on any fucking thing should be fucking, punished. Not jailed, right? But, you shouldn't be that's not a good thing to say, right? It's one thing, right? It's one thing to attack individuals and even groups of people that are standing for something, right? But Joe Schmo just being born, right? The babies in fucking Israel and Palestine are not doing shit that it's bad, right? The fucking infants aren't fucking running around beheading people. A lot of times you're getting beheaded, actually, if we're gonna be really honest about that conversation. But yeah, the infants of both countries are not fucking evil, right? And so, a good way to say it, right? You can demonize groups that are not born that way, right? So Hamas, I demonize all the time because Hamas is a piece of shit, but they molded themselves to be a piece of shit, right? They chose that, right? That's how I know Hamas is shitty people. Hamas chose to be shitty people, right? That's a big difference. So I would like for me, Hamas, yeah, like if he said the same thing, but instead of Palestine, he swapped it for Hamas, I would have had no fucking no fucking like quarrel with that because it's right, right? But Palestine is just being born on that plot of land, right? You have no decision on that matter, right? And so like you're just born there, and you like this is your life, and you don't want it to like not be that way. Um, and like that's what most Palestinians are, right? So like that's what I think, right? Like needs to like be addressed on that. But otherwise, the whole inferior culture shit, like if it was Hamas, hell yeah, say that. They're fucking shitty people. But it's like the problem was like he directed it not at Hamas and like other terrorists, but like everyone in the fucking place, right?
Politically wishing and just saying out loud, hey, I wish that all these people will suffer physical, mental, and other harms is psychotic behavior.
I don't think I've ever heard him say that. Like, to be fair, he might have. Like, he does edge shit all the time. So he might have, but I don't think I've ever fucking heard him say that.
Maximalist demands is about Russia.
To be fair, I think, like, honestly, I think that just puts him on a son here with that.
But Rudia makes a good point here. Is that trying to get Trump to make negative comments about Putin publicly in front of everybody is something that is kind of manipulative.
Is the truth ever manipulated? I am personally always for the truth. I do not want to obfuscate. I think the world is better when it's truthful. And I do not support Asmongold's positions of, oh, we should lie. Lying got us Biden, okay? And I'm pretty sure America did not enjoy Biden arrested in your own homes for evil means.
Yeah, what? He's not talking about lying. He's talking about, like, you shouldn't say things like that. Yeah.
Are you Britain?
The thing is that he can do that because the reality is, like, again, it's true, but at the same time, it could make him look bad.
Oof.
The pay for the
But Trump
reconstruction.
publicly insults Zelensky. I'm trying to just be as again, you're bringing in an
Ouch.
I didn't agree with Trump saying that about Zelensky either. I thought that was stupid for him to say that.
He will never really address this? Yeah. As we will definitely never address. I'm assuming you're thinking he as an Asmon will never address this? Yeah. Asmon will never go into these topics because it's too risky. He just wants to cover this, but
What? Like, no, he I think he's doing fine, honestly. It's a war. It's not. Yeah, it's a war. It's going to be driven by emotion, not by logic.
doesn't really care about America or anything. Because if he cared about America, I think his positions would be so much more obvious. But instead, we're getting this wibbly wobbly, wishy washy.
Well, yeah, that actually is true. He does have a point there.
My dad wasn't at home when I was growing up, type of deal. Pretty bad.
I know that a lot of people, whenever I provide commentary or I talk about any of these topics, people think that I'm on one side.
Because you are. Yeah.
I'm not. Tomorrow, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to do the same thing that I did today.
Ooh.
My life will be relatively unchanged from any of these things. I'm
Ooh.
looking at them as fairly as I possibly can, and
Yeah, that's low-key. Hopefully something a billionaire would say, right?
if you guys think there's something I'm missing, that's fine.
No, I'm fucking poor. like, like, eventually, what it comes down to is this isn't going to negatively affect me. I should not worry about it as much as I am right now. That's what's actually being conveyed. I'm not going to suffer, right? I'm not going to suffer from this specifically, right? So why am I worried about it, right? And this is really like a thing, like this is what's known as the sliced oranges on a plate moment, right? Did anyone want to know what that means? So sliced oranges on a plate refers to like when you have when you're a kid and you have an incredibly actual like painful IRL thing that is worrying you and you're incredibly anxious about this very shitty thing going on in the world. And they give you the oranges to get you to shut up, right? Well, it's not to get you to shut up. It's to get you to stop fucking worrying about it. And also to shut up. But mainly to stop worrying about that thing. Because it's going to ruin your life and they don't want it to consume you. So instead of letting that that bullshit consume you, consume this orange instead. It's called Parenting 101. We need to bring back sliced oranges on a plate, is what I'm saying, right? I actually, one of the reasons why I was fucked up for so long is I didn't have that, right? So now I do, and like not really like a parent, but like I have to do it myself basically. But now you might have noticed my attitude has changed a lot, right? I used to have like this very foul like attitude that was just a few months ago, and now I've got like this massive fucking like plate of like curry and pineapple. It's so fucking good, by the way. I might have to show you guys like how I make that. It's like so good. It's like so easy and so good. It's like 20 fucking minutes of cooking. It's just so delicious. It's so good. It'll last a whole week because I'm a single person and I can save it for that long. And it's super cheap too. You know, like man, like it's like $20 for like a whole like 3 weeks of fucking dinner. Like. No, not 3 weeks. It's like an entire week of fucking dinner, though, right? So like it's been literally $3 a day of effectively of food, right? That's kind of based, you know.
But don't ever convince yourself or delude yourself into me thinking this is a fucking play for points game. That's not how I look at it, and that's not how you should look at it either.
I mean, you haven't played for a lot of points, bro. I don't know if I would say that.
I don't think I've ever seen Asmongold play for points. That's actually one thing I can say he's never done.
Kind of risky.
All the sorts of things that you talk about in a negotiation. Well, when you start talking about that,
Well, like people talk about how like Asmongold went soft on Elon or went too hard on Elon. Right? Like people have problems with Asmongold when they disagree with it, right? The reason why the house thing was dumb when people brought it up was because they only brought it up when they disagreed with him, right? Like if you brought it up 24/7 like his friends do, like it would have been hitting a lot harder than it did because you only brought it up because he proved you wrong on something, right? Like, yeah, he did factually need to clean his house. And I think he did. Like, it looks a lot cleaner, especially now that I'm looking at it. So, yeah, like, he factually needed to clean that shit up. That shit was disgusting. And he did. So, yeah.
deal maker, he's made deals his entire life.
It must be so strange to be an Asmongold fan and just get him say these things out loud, and you're like, yeah, it definitely must be, right? Asmongold sells normal people for the most part, but sometimes Asmongold just goes too far and he, what does that mean? I think you misspelled something there. But I kind of think I get the point that you're saying. They're normal people, but sometimes he's just really hard to agree with when he does things like this. Because, I mean, yeah.
This is like literally the most fucking tame Asmongold take I've seen. The fuck?
You're not going to get people to the table. And so you start to perceive that maybe Zelensky doesn't want a peace deal. He says he does, but maybe he doesn't. And that's active, open undermining of efforts to bring
I
about
think that Marco Rubio is completely. Like, I really hope that she asks, like, why is it a peace deal when they broke in peace deals in the past? That's the problem.
Yes, the person that Marco Rubio is being interviewed by is a woman. Yes, this is a woman on the left. I don't know if you know this, but Asmongold is talking about the interviewer, this woman right here on the left, who is, I'm pretty sure, I would assume that this woman here on the left in the purplish pink suit that's interviewing him and asking the questions, I, which is what he's referring to, her, as in her, yeah.
issue is that it's
Well, I mean, maybe Asmund was right. When I look at Marco Rubio, I am looking at him like a guy who
Like there's one thing to not understand, like media that like that's actually complicated. Like for me, like I understand media literacy. Like when like conservatives are bad at media literacy. Like when it comes to like something complex, but like they people try to say that when it's like something like The Boys. Like no, they get that it's making fun of them, right? They got that. They got that with the first fucking episode, right? At least like anyone who is intelligent did anyway. Like, cause it makes fun of them the entire fucking series, and it's pretty obvious from episode 1. Like, the reason why the show fell off has nothing, it didn't really fall off. It fell down a little bit. It's not, fall off implies unrecoverable. They can hit it with a banger season 5. It's still decent, right? But it's definitely gotten worse. But I feel like what it really comes down to is the whole seasons are like ad-libs of each other. And so, yeah, like the first season was great, second season was fantastic. But then the third and the fourth just dipped a little bit each time. They're not really bad. They're not really, like, they're still good. They're just not as good, right? Like, they're not fantastic like season 1 and 2. They're just good, right? They're still entertaining. They still service all the things that they need to do. It's fun to watch. It's a little gross sometimes, but it was always like that. So, really, what are you like complaining about 4 seasons in? Like they got fart jokes. They had fart jokes in the first season, first fucking up. Like, what are you talking about, my guy? You know. But yeah, despite all that, you know, like the show's still good, right? But it's definitely fallen off. So like I can understand people I'm fallen out of like quality in some respects. I can see conservatives not liking that, right? Now if people try to say, oh, he's always like, no, it was always pretty far left. It was pretty blatantly far left, right? But I feel like no one really makes an argument for that specific reason. Right? Like there are people who have tried, but they're always like morbidly obese retards, right? Like, yeah, everyone who knows what The Boys is for more than 5 seconds understands. Yeah, right? But yeah.
yeah, they can say, yeah, that's pretty fucking feminine. Suck that bad boy right off, come in the mouth and be like, I'm not even gay.
I don't know why like he's trying to assume that that Asmongold was calling Marco Rubio fucking trans there. I will say it's entertaining, but like my guy, it's pretty blatantly obvious. Everyone who has a fucking working brain understands that he's talking about the fucking chick. Literally in the same fucking frame, right? There's a chick in a pink suit in the same fucking frame. Like, yes, the her is the her in this scenario.
definition of peaceful. He doesn't think that it is.
He's deeply frustrating for everyone who's been involved.
Hopefully he talks about
with them, leading up
I'm not lost in that.
apologize for wasting our time for a meeting that was going to end the way it did.
Yeah.
You yourself have said previously that Putin cannot be trusted in negotiations. That was the point
Oh, there it is.
President Zelensky.
See, that's who he was talking about. The interviewer, the person who asked questions, he was saying she should ask the question that he wanted her to ask. And she did. You're like talking about like this whole, like he's calling Mark Rubio trans. What? like this has to be a bit. He cannot be that fucking stupid. Like that he doesn't understand that when he says, I hope she asked him a question, right, in this conversation involving a question asking person. That's what an interviewer is they ask you questions, right? Involving the question asker person being a woman. So he says, her, ask him a question. Well, her, ask him a question. How is this hard to get? Like, it's pretty obvious that this is a fucking woman. And also not Marco Rubio. And also the one asking all the questions.
all the ceasefire agreements before or agreements that Putin has just blown past. I mean, do you still
Like, he's talking about the people in the video when he said that. Like, I get, like, he kind of trailed off and it made it I can kind of, like, if I really turn my brain off, see you thinking, like, you meant Trump and Zelensky, and Marco Rubio would be, like, talking to Trump after this. That's not what we said, and I have no idea why you would why I would have to give you that brain dead interpretation of your own mind to have any favorable opinion of you now. But, like, yeah, that's where we're at right now. I have to assume that this guy is actually retarded rather than, like, trying to manipulate people at this point. Because, like, that's the only good faith I can have with this guy now. You know, like, I like lolcows sometimes. I like dunking on lolcows. Like, I made Mark Kern one, and I made like that tactical Templar guy one. Dude, you can hear the obesity in his voice, you know. But I mean, you can hear the goon in my voice. Apparently, a lot of people like dunk on me for having a very salivated voice. That, like, I do goon, so, like, there is a bit of salivation from that, but it's actually because of pineapples and orange juice. I drink enough fluids, right? So I have, like, a very wet mouth because there's a lot of wet in there, right? But it's not dicks. I wish. I like dicks, but and it's not why my mouth is constantly salivating. It's actually legit because I have fucking good food all the fucking time. Like, I have food worth salivating over for once in my life. So I'm enjoying that. I'm enjoying that. You know? I'm like a little fishy, like making a little fishy noise. I'm just, like, nibbling everything like I'm a fucking rat.
Let's assume that's true.
Assume.
Ukraine in 4 years will then have this problem after Trump is gone. That's the issue.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, he's talking about. He's giving them the benefit of the doubt, and saying that if we assume that this thing that people want to take is true, then we'll just have this again in 4 years. He's right. That's why he's talking. He wants, if there's going to be a solution, he wants it to be one that actually solves the fucking problems in as least violent way as possible, right? That's what Asmongold is saying. So if we assume that this thing will actually work for 4 years, that just bides time, right? Sometimes you just need to bide some time, right? But if all you're doing is biding time, you eventually run out, right? So what he's saying is, don't just bide time. Actually do something worthwhile.
Is that this deal being contingent on Trump is building a castle on sand.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the U.S. presidents rotate all the time.
Yeah, so effectively he's saying Trump is the security, but it's kind of strange because he's saying, yeah, Trump is going to sacrifice American lives for a country they can't pinpoint if anything goes south, but the next presidency is maybe not going to be willing to start World War III? That is wild.
And again, like, I don't think that they want to take a 4-year
Bad thing? Yeah, definitely bad thing. Jesus.
armistice effectively for this, or ceasefire, and then immediately after the new person comes in, maybe the new person will be even more tough than Trump is. Or maybe it'll be another Biden. We don't know yet.
Yeah, that's ultimately the issue here, right? Because of our system, right? You don't know what you're going to get, and you cannot guarantee it. So you have to give us something so that we're like more. So basically, America's got a lot of the cards, is what like he was saying. Like Trump gave a deck analogy, right? So you're asking like America for some cards, right? We're the ones with them, right? So if you want some cards, you got to ask us for them, right? Your deck sucks. The other guy has like a meta deck, and you've got like you've got like a half built skull servant deck, right? Which means you don't have a deck because like if you only have half the cards needed to make a skull servant deck, it sucks, right? For those that don't know, skull servant's that one deck that like you kind of need every single card to play properly, but you can kind of like mollywop a few people with it because they had some strategies that are fucking amazing. But you kind of need every fucking card to do it, right? People who know Yu-Gi-Oh know what I'm talking about, right? But you can pull it off sometimes, right? And it's like the Zelensky deck. Like there is no chance he's gonna win against a meta deck with that. Because it's not even finished yet, right? So Trump's saying, you want, like, we got some booster packs with some cards that you might need for that deck. But we can give them to you, right? We can give you these cards that you need. But you got to give us something first. Because we're gonna need a way, insurance basically, that we can actually get stuff back from when we help you, right? And the reason why Trump is saying that is like our economy's kind of shit because of all the shit that fucking Bush did, right? Like Obama too, but like Bush mainly, right? And a little bit of Clinton too, like Clinton, Bush, Obama, right? Mainly, right? Biden actually, believe it or not, Biden's problem was that he like just let it fucking flow, right? Like Biden's problem was actually a lack of policy, whereas like Obama and Bush and Clinton had actual policies that made things worse. Biden's was really like a lack of policy.
That's a lot of nothing being said right there. Maybe.
Like I love that, like, oh, Biden. Like, no, that never actually happened. At least not anywhere I was around. Like people could walk out just fine. There were really no police held curfews, other than like a couple neighborhood ones, right? Like if I walked into like some rich neighborhood, I would actually have a curfew that would be very fucking strict. But nothing really like, because I was living in the fucking city of Cleveland, right? And nothing really like changed that much. Yeah, we had to wear masks, and it was kind of cringe. It's kind of it. Like like I wore masks, and it was fine. I wore a little face diaper. It was fine, right? Now of course I actually like. I do my own research a bit, and by that I mean like actually not like fucking Facebook Karens. So I know that like there is actually a good reason to do that if you are sick, but if you're not sick, you're just fucking wearing a piece of shit on your face, right? Like the point is to not get other people sick, not to not get sick yourself. If you want to not get sick yourself, you have to go plague doctor, right? Like what you're talking about, like, is to avoid spreading the sickness because it comes out of your lungs and nose. So you avoid spreading the sickness by having this piece of cloth help catch the germs and stuff, And it's effectively just the same shit we should have always been doing, right? If you're sick, you should, cover up, and we should always wash our hands after we use the restroom, right? And we should give some people a little bit of space, right? I think 6 feet was not necessary. But you know what? A couple feet. Like, before COVID, people used to be all up in your fucking neck, right? Now that doesn't happen as much as it used to, right? Like, that's one thing I will thank COVID, like, regulations for. It got people to fucking stop breathing down my neck in stores. Like, That was fucking disgusting. That would happen. Like I would be like going like to get like my group home like staff because I was in a group home and like he would ask me to get some beers for him and stuff, right? I get him a beer and there would be like people like like fucking wheezing on my. I'm like, dude, I'm here for a fucking $1 can of beer. Fuck off.
Maybe that. Shit, if I had to live my life like a bitch, maybe this, maybe that. I would
But like after COVID, like that didn't happen anymore. What did happen though is they rose it to like $3.
let me tell you right there.
Like beer got fucking expensive too. Like everything did, obviously. But yeah.
That has a limit, and maybe this, maybe that is just yeah, count me out. That,
Now, one thing I will say, it has caused me to eat healthier because one of the few things that didn't shoot up a lot in price is vegetables and fruits. Like, I don't know if anyone notices, but like vegetables are still like 50 cents for a can of like corn, right? It used to be 20, like everything increased, right? But it used to be 25 cents, now it's 50 cents. That's still very well affordable and also like, you know, like compared to the rates a lot of other things went up, which was like 2 to 4 times. I mean, not 2 to 4, like 3 to 4 times, right? And then like fucking vegetables and rice and shit like stayed at a 2. Yeah. Like junk food shot up very fast too. Like candy that used to be 50 cents is now 3.50. I'm like, what the fuck?
just too much of a bitch.
Like 3.50 for like a king size candy bar. No, it was $1, not 50. But like we're talking about like a candy bar, right? A fucking Reese's Pieces.
We understand it on our end for certain. And so the goal here is to get to a place we have to explore other pieces possible. I've said this repeatedly. I don't know. I think it is based on
Oh shit, 8 years. I mean, that would completely destroy the Constitution of America, which is already on feeble feet currently. It needs a lot of fixing currently to make it be rock solid. But doing that is effectively just throwing it out the window. That is not something like that is not something the majority of American people would want even attempted. That is just treason against everything that is American and American values. That is just throwing your tax dollars out the window.
they said so far, but we have to explore it. How else is this war going to end? I ask people, what is the European
Radical opinions are normal, sadly. Yeah, seems like it. I mean, saying fuck the Constitution. Yeah, that's definitely an Asmongold thing. Remember that one time? This was like a year ago. I made a video about that because it was just fucking funny. Asmongold was like, oh yeah, pro-gun. Can you open carry? No. Can you conceal carry? No. Obviously, no. That's dangerous. Can you have a gun outside your house? No. Can you have a gun inside your house? Well, for self-defense, not shot. That's dangerous. Maybe a handgun. Maybe a handgun. And, bro, when that is your stance against the Second Amendment, like Asmongold's shit, son. You're not in a good position, okay? I'm not gonna lie.
What are you? Has Asmongold literally ever talked about guns? But like if he's talking about like how he views like his own guns rights, right? That's a different thing. Like I mean, like he can view like his own like rights that he has objectively differently. Yes, that's how things can work. They're his constitutional rights after all. These guys like he cuts him off early. I'm gonna cut him off early, even though it's only 7 seconds and he's like fucking half an hour short. But yeah, like he's just like legitimately not understood a single fucking thing in this conversation. Like his comments are not really liking it either, right? I can't comment because YouTube fucking banned me for being a little like not banned me, like commenting for today, right? I got put in gay baby YouTube jail for something I said somewhere that apparently was called harassment. I have no idea what it was at all, right? Um, but I do think it's kind of funny because I don't harass anyone. Um, I just type lots of text apparently, and like people don't like that I can type a lot of words. And so like apparently like typing a lot of words is considered harassment on YouTube these days. So yeah, I can type a large amount of words in sentences. And you know, those will be like, apparently that's harassing people now. Apparently that's hate speech. You type a lot of words, right? Like nothing actually bad, right? But apparently because I typed a lot of words, YouTube just didn't like that. I don't know who fucking reported that. I have no idea what it was reported either, right? But I know that I make a lot of long comments, and that's like the only thing I could think of. Like that's basically like how it fucking dominates. Like I feel like I'm banned because I speak too much in YouTube comments, and they want me to keep things dumb and retarded like a lot of people. Also, yeah, like this is objectively what I would say, right? Although I would probably spurg it out in like 2 fucking years of text, but it would be the same fucking thing. Anyway, see ya.